Imagine it's Tuesday morning. The sun rises over the Arctic, and America decides it's no longer asking permission. Not with tanks, not with speeches, but with money, with pressure, with a choice that forces the world to choose sides. By Wednesday, Denmark is in crisis. By Thursday, NATO is fracturing. By Friday, Russia and China are mobilizing, and the entire global order, the one that's lasted 80 years, starts to collapse under the weight of one nation's ambition. But here's the question that keeps you watching. What if they actually succeeded? You need to understand what makes Greenland worth this. Most people think of Greenland as a frozen wasteland, ice, emptiness, a place on a map that nobody cares about. They're completely wrong. Greenland is the Arctic's gateway. As the planet warms, the ice melts, and when the ice melts, something extraordinary happens. New shipping routes open up. Routes that cut across the top of the world. Routes that bypass the Suez Canal. Routes that shave weeks off journeys between Asia and Europe. Weeks that equal billions of dollars. Here's the part most people miss. Whoever controls those routes controls global trade. But it's not just commerce, it's dominance. Greenland sits like a guard at the entrance to the Arctic, and the Arctic is becoming the new frontier, not because of ice, but because of what's underneath. Rare earth minerals, cobalt, copper, oil, energy reserves that dwarf the Middle East. And controlling Greenland means controlling access to all of it. Then there's the military piece, and this is where it gets dark. Thule Air Base. It's an American military installation in Greenland. One of the most advanced radar systems in the world sits there, buried under the ice. It watches Russia. It watches the Arctic. It's an early warning system for nuclear missiles crossing the North Pole. Imagine losing that. Imagine Russia moving unopposed in waters that touch your coast. Imagine facing threats you can't see coming. Now imagine controlling it fully, expanding it, making it the fortress of the Arctic, the sword and shield of American power. That's why politicians have whispered about Greenland for decades. That's why billionaires have quietly bought land there. That's why everyone knows Greenland isn't just an island, it's a prize. And in this timeline, America stops asking nicely. Here's where history bends. It starts with a new administration, one more aggressive, one less interested in the diplomatic dance, one that looks at the world and decides that asking permission is weakness. A meeting happens in the Oval Office. No press, just a small group. The Joint Chiefs, the National Security Advisor. Someone says it, we need Greenland, not eventually, now. And instead of dismissing it, the president listens. That afternoon, a bill quietly moves through Congress. It's framed as Arctic infrastructure investment. New ports, new roads, new military facilities. $20 billion, all going to Greenland, all designed to make Greenland more dependent on America. Denmark gets a call. Not a warning, a call. The ambassador to Denmark walks into a meeting and presents an offer. We'd like to accelerate our presence in Greenland, expand Thule, modernize the island's infrastructure. In exchange, we'll make Denmark rich. We'll guarantee security. We'll be the best ally you've ever had. It sounds innocent. It isn't. Because Denmark knows what's really being said. We're coming. You can either benefit from this or you can resist. And that's the moment the world changes. American money floods Greenland overnight. Not charity, investment. American contractors arrive. They build roads. They expand airports. They modernize ports. They promise jobs and prosperity to a population of 56,000 people who felt forgotten by Copenhagen for centuries. It works. Greenlanders start preferring American support to Danish indifference. But here's what's really happening. America is building infrastructure that gives it complete control over the island. roads that only work with American-supplied trucks, airports that run on American systems, power grids that connect to American energy supplies. Greenland becomes quietly, structurally dependent on America. Meanwhile, the military component accelerates. Thule isn't just expanded, it's transformed. New radar arrays, new satellite stations, nuclear-powered submarines start appearing in Greenlandic waters for routine patrols. Denmark watches this happening and feels its grip slipping. Then America does something clever. It stops talking to Copenhagen. It talks directly to Greenland. A series of high-level American delegations visits. They meet with Greenlandic politicians. They offer direct financial agreements that bypass Denmark entirely. They hint at something unspoken. If you want independence from Denmark, we'll support you. This is the oil that sets the fire. Greenland's been seeking independence for decades. Denmark's been resisting. Now, suddenly, independence looks possible, and America's dangling the keys. Political movements emerge. Independence parties start winning elections. Young Greenlanders see American prosperity and ask, why are we bound to Denmark? Why can't we be our own nation, aligned with America? The independence movement accelerates beyond anyone's control. Denmark protests. It goes to NATO. It calls an emergency summit and says, America is undermining our sovereignty. This is an attack on the alliance. But here's the problem. America isn't invading. It's not technically violating any laws. It's just being very good at friendship. And it's hard to punish someone for being too generous. NATO is paralyzed. Germany wants to oppose America. France wants to negotiate. Britain is uncertain. And America's allies in Eastern Europe, Poland, Romania, the Baltics, they see America's power and think, we want America on our side. We need America. So NATO does nothing. A referendum happens in Greenland. After months of American pressure, American investment, and American support for independence, Greenlanders vote to separate from Denmark. It's not even close, 73%. Denmark is devastated. It appeals to the international community. The UN convenes. There are angry speeches, accusations of colonialism, a word nobody expected to use about America, imperialism. But Denmark has no leverage. It's a nation of 5 million people. America is America. And then something changes everything. America doesn't wait for official independence. It prepositions military forces. It signs a security agreement with the de facto Greenlandic government. It recognizes Greenland's independence unilaterally before any international body votes. It's a power move, a statement. We're doing this with or without your approval. Denmark threatens to leave NATO. It's serious. Its government falls. Elections happen. 3 governments cycle through in 18 months as Danish society tears itself apart over the loss of Greenland.
But the real consequences are global. Russia moves immediately. It accelerates military buildup in the Barents Sea. It deploys new Arctic brigades. It tests the boundaries of international waters, knowing America's attention is divided. China watches. It starts making deals with Nordic countries. Specifically, it courts Norway. It buys ports. It expands influence. It's playing the game too. France and Germany fracture over the response. Germany wants to stand with America. France wants to lead an independent European defense policy. The EU splits down the middle. Turkey, sensing weakness in NATO cohesion, becomes more aggressive in the Mediterranean and Eastern Europe. It's emboldened. The UK looks at America and starts wondering if the special relationship actually means anything, or if America just uses allies when convenient. And here's the part that matters. Trust starts dying. Nations that were allied with America for 70 years start thinking, If America can do this to Denmark, a NATO member, what could it do to us? The global order isn't shattered, not yet, but it's cracking, and nothing's being done to repair it.
But what if it goes faster? What if America doesn't have patience for the quiet game? A new president takes office. This one's different. This one doesn't believe in half measures. Within a week of inauguration, the president addresses the nation. Not Denmark, the nation. Greenland is strategically vital to American security. The Arctic is the frontier of the 21st century, and America will not yield the Arctic to competitors. We've made an offer to Denmark. We're willing to pay. We're willing to compensate. But understand, this is happening. It's not a negotiation, it's a declaration. Denmark's government goes into shock. It immediately appeals to NATO. An emergency summit is called. But America's at the table too, and the president makes something clear. If NATO opposes this, America will question its commitment to NATO. It's a threat wrapped in bureaucratic language, but it's a threat. NATO fractures immediately. The Eastern European members side with America. Germany and France are torn. Italy joins America. Spain is confused. Canada says nothing, terrified to pick a side. The alliance that won the Cold War, that's supposed to be permanent, is visibly breaking apart on live television. America doesn't invade militarily. It invades economically. Tariffs hit Denmark immediately. 20% on all Danish goods. Sanctions on Danish banks. American companies start pulling out of Denmark. Investment dries up overnight. The Danish economy seizes. The krone drops. Unemployment spikes. And America sends a message. This is what happens when you refuse to cooperate. You want it to stop? Accept the situation and move forward. At the same time, America deploys military assets visibly. The Arctic sees an unprecedented military buildup. Nuclear submarines, carrier groups, stealth bombers, all repositioning toward the Arctic, all conducting exercises. Then the cyber attacks begin, but they're not attributed to America. They hit Danish infrastructure. Power grids flicker, banking systems stall. It's deniable, it's devastating, and it's working. Greenland watches Denmark collapse and thinks, maybe we should just accept the American offer. But here's where it gets dangerous. Russia realizes this is its moment. If America is distracted, if NATO is fractured, if Europe is confused, then Russia moves. It starts in the Baltic. Military exercises near Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. Cyber attacks on NATO infrastructure. It's testing, probing, seeing if America will actually come to NATO's defense. America is trapped. If it abandons the Arctic to defend the Baltics, it loses Greenland. If it stays focused on the Arctic, NATO might fracture completely. Some American military commanders are saying the quiet part out loud. We can't protect everyone. We have to choose. Those 5 words break something in the global consciousness. China moves too. It's been buying port infrastructure in the Nordic countries. Now it accelerates. It offers loans to Iceland. It courts Finland. It's building its own Arctic strategy, knowing America's distracted. And then something happens that changes everything. Economic pressure on Denmark isn't enough. America needs Greenland, and Greenland's government is still hesitant. So America does something that backfires spectacularly. It positions military forces directly in Greenlandic waters. It's described as a security operation, but it looks like preparation for an invasion. Amphibious ships, special forces, the works. Denmark, galvanized by national humiliation, refuses. Its new government, a nationalist one, elected on a platform of resistance, declares that any American military action will be met with armed resistance. It's insane. Denmark against America? But pride is a powerful drug. America pauses. An invasion of Greenland would be the nuclear option, literally. It would prove to the world that America conquers with force, that the post-World War II order is officially dead, that might makes right. But then, something happens inside America itself. Mass protests erupt, not against the government, for it. 20% of Americans want Greenland. They've bought into the narrative that it's necessary, that it's power, that it's destiny. But 80% are horrified. The economy's tanking because of sanctions blowback. American soldiers are dying in fabricated Arctic incidents. The nation's divided like it hasn't been since the Civil War. Congress fractures. The House passes a resolution condemning the president's actions. The Senate is deadlocked. States start passing resolutions refusing to deploy National Guard units to any Arctic operations. It's cascading. It's uncontrolled. It's a nation eating itself. And then a shot is fired. Not in Greenland, in the Baltic. A Russian military aircraft buzzes an American destroyer near Latvia. Both sides are on edge. Both sides are armed. Both sides are terrified. The destroyer fires a warning shot. The Russian plane fires back. Two NATO jets scramble. Russian jets intercept. Missiles are locked on. The world holds its breath for 4 minutes while pilots and commanders decide whether this is the moment humanity crosses the threshold. Someone blinks. The Russian jets break off. War is averted, but just barely. And America realizes it's made a catastrophic mistake. You can't have this much military tension, this much global division, this much economic chaos, and expect it to end cleanly. The system's approaching critical mass. The president, suddenly realizing the consequences, orders a stand-down. America withdraws forces from Greenlandic waters. It offers Denmark reparations. It tries to repair NATO. But the damage is done. The moment has passed. The world's different now, and there's no going back. The alliance survives, but barely. NATO holds together because the Eastern European members stay convinced America is still their protector. But the Western European core, Germany, France, Spain, Italy, they can never look at America the same way again. They start building an independent European defense force. Seriously, not as a complement to NATO, as an alternative. Germany ramps up military spending to levels not seen since the Nazi era. It's technically defensive. Technically, right, but the psychology is terrifying. Europe's rearming, and it's not trusting America to protect it. Meanwhile, Denmark leaves NATO. Not formally at first, but it pivots toward EU integration. It starts building alliances with Nordic countries in Eastern Europe through the EU instead of through the American-dominated alliance structure. NATO continues to exist, but it's hollow. It's an agreement on paper. The trust is gone, and without trust, an alliance is just a club that meets once a year. Across Europe, politics explode. In Germany, a nationalist party gains ground. We can't trust America. We need to stand alone. In France, an anti-NATO movement emerges. Europe must be independent from both America and Russia. In Italy, the government that sided with America faces protests. You sold us out. You made America the master of the continent. The EU fragments along old lines. Eastern Europeans still want American protection. Western Europeans want independence. Southern Europeans are caught in the middle. The Union's still there, but it's not cohesive anymore. Immigration becomes politicized again. Nationalism rises. Borders that were supposed to be fluid become militarized once more. The European dream, unity after centuries of war, starts to crack. It takes years, but the seeds are planted. Europe's heading toward fragmentation, and it started when America broke trust with one small nation. Russia and China, watching America stumble, move closer together, not as allies of choice, as partners of necessity. If the Western order is breaking down, they need each other to manage the chaos. Russia accelerates military modernization. It's not hiding anymore. New nuclear submarines, hypersonic missiles, Arctic brigades deployed permanently. The Arctic becomes militarized on a scale not seen since the Cold War. China doubles down on Arctic strategy, not militarily yet, but economically. It finances infrastructure in Greenland, Iceland, Norway. It's buying influence where America's credibility is shattered. And they coordinate. Not formally, but it's clear. When America moves, they move. When America hesitates, they advance. It's a dance as old as power itself, the balance of terror.
A new arms race ignites. But it's different from the Cold War. Autonomous weapons, drone swarms, hypersonic missiles, directed energy weapons, cyber weapons that can shut down entire nations, the weapons of the 21st century. Defense budgets explode globally. America spends $1 trillion annually. Russia and China follow. Europe ramps up. India, Japan, South Korea all militarize. Even small nations start building cyber warfare capabilities because it's cheaper than missiles and just as devastating. The Arctic becomes a testing ground. New ice-capable ships, submarines that can operate under Arctic ice, drone systems for surveillance. It's the new frontier, and everyone's racing to dominate it. But here's the terrifying part. Nobody knows the rules yet. In the Cold War, there was a playbook: nuclear deterrence, mutual assured destruction, a grim equilibrium. Now, nobody knows where the lines are, and accidents happen in uncharted territory.
Greenland is American now, not on paper, but in reality. The military installations are permanently expanded. The population is increasingly dependent on American trade and investment. English is becoming the second language. American culture is seeping in. Within a generation, Greenland is America in all but name. Denmark's diminished. It's now a second-tier power. It's stable, but it's lost its great power pretensions. It pivots toward the EU, but it's never quite trusted again. It's the cautionary tale other nations study. The Arctic borders are redrawn, not officially, but the spheres of influence are clear. America controls Greenland and the Western Arctic. Russia controls the eastern approaches. China's buying up influence everywhere in between. The Northwest Passage, the shipping route America wanted so badly, is now so militarized that commercial traffic is dangerous. The route's open, but nobody's using it, because crossing Arctic waters now means navigating a military minefield. It's a Pyrrhic victory. America got what it wanted, but it's worthless now. Something fundamental changes inside America. The nation has always seen itself as a force for good, a protector, a liberator. That story dies with Greenland. Americans realize their nation is capable of the same power plays that empires have done for millennia: coercion, economic pressure, military intimidation, all the tactics that were supposed to be things America stood against. Some Americans embrace this. We're a great power, we should act like it. Others reject it violently. The country splits ideologically in ways that make the Cold War look quaint. Cities fracture, families split, the national identity is in crisis. But the world sees something else: America as a potential threat, not to its enemies, to its allies. Nations that were friends stop trusting. They start diversifying their relationships. Some lean toward China, some toward Europe's emerging independence. Some try to stay neutral and hope for the best. America's still the most powerful nation on Earth, but soft power, the ability to make others want to follow you, is gone. Now America can only coerce, and a world forced to follow is a world looking for an escape. The Arctic becomes what the Berlin Wall used to be, the symbol of a divided world. Military exercises happen constantly. Close calls between American and Russian forces become routine. NATO and non-NATO forces patrol waters, watching each other obsessively. One mistake, one miscalculation, and the entire system collapses into hot conflict. Climate change continues melting the ice. More resources become accessible. More shipping routes open. More opportunities for conflict. Every thaw is another reason to militarize further. The Arctic becomes the new nuclear-armed frontier, the new flashpoint, the new place where the world holds its breath every time a submarine surfaces or a plane takes off. And it all started because one nation decided that power was more important than partnership.
Here's what most people don't understand. The consequences of Greenland don't end. They ripple forward. They infect every decision. Every treaty becomes suspect. Every alliance becomes transactional. Every nation becomes a potential target for takeover if it controls something valuable. Small nations learn the lesson. Align with America or find your own protector. There's no staying neutral. There's no opting out. Europe's fragmented. NATO's a paper tiger. Russia and China are moving freely in spaces America used to dominate. And America's trapped in a cycle where it needs more military spending, more bases, more control just to maintain what it already has. It's not empire. Empire sustains itself. This is something else. This is a nation so focused on power that it's slowly isolating itself from the world. This is hegemony eating itself. And the most terrifying part? This timeline isn't written in science fiction. The pieces are all real. The technologies are real. The ambitions are real. Politicians have whispered about Greenland. Companies have invested there. Militaries have planned for it. The only thing missing is the moment, the decision, the point where a leader looks at the board and decides that the rules don't apply to them. So here's the final question, the one that should keep you awake. Is America one decision away from becoming the empire it always said it would never be? And when that moment comes, and if it comes, will you even see it happening? Or will you be too distracted by the narrative they'll tell you to justify it?
And if you want more timelines like this, more moments where history bends and the world changes, subscribe to Paralexion. Because the scariest part isn't what happened, it's how close we are to it happening again.